For thousands of years, people truly believed you could eat your way out of death, that somewhere in the world there was a fruit, a root, or a drink that could make you live forever. Civilizations searched oceans, brewed potions, fought wars, and even poisoned themselves in the desperate hunt for edible immortality. From golden apples guarded by gods, to mushrooms that promised eternity, to deadly elixirs that killed emperors. This is the strange, dangerous, and fascinating story of every food believed to cure death in history. And trust me, some of these foods are more terrifying than magical. Food 15. The plant of immortality. Mesopotamia, c. 2100 BCE. Our story begins with the world's very first epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Carved onto clay tablets more than 4,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia, it tells the tale of King Gilgamesh, a man so grief-stricken by the death of his friend Enkidu that he sets out on a desperate quest to defeat death itself. His journey leads him to Utnapishtim, a flood survivor much like the biblical Noah, who whispers of a secret, a thorny plant growing deep at the bottom of the cosmic ocean. This plant, Utnapishtim claims, has the power to restore youth and perhaps grant immortality. Determined, Gilgamesh ties stones to his feet, plunges into the black waters, and after a struggle emerges victorious, with the plant clutched in his hands. Exhausted but overjoyed, he plans to share it with the elders of Uruk, so that all may taste eternal youth. But fate is cruel. On his journey home, Gilgamesh pauses to rest by a pool of cool water. While he bathes, a serpent slithers out of the shadows, drawn by the plant's divine scent. It snatches the prize and vanishes into the underbrush. Gilgamesh watches helplessly as his one hope for immortality is stolen. The snake sheds its skin, symbolizing eternal renewal, while man remains destined to die. The lesson was clear. Immortality belongs not to kings or heroes, but to the natural cycles of the earth. Humans may hunger for eternity, but it slips away like a serpent in the grass. Food 14. Ambrosia and nectar. Ancient Greece, c.I. 800 BCE. In the myths of Homer, the gods of Olympus dined not on ordinary food, but on ambrosia and nectar, the sacred sustenance that set them apart from mortals. To taste even a drop was to cross the boundary between human and divine, a transformation so powerful that it could turn a mortal into an immortal. Heracles, after completing his labours, is welcomed into Olympus with ambrosia, securing his place among the gods forever. But for most humans, ambrosia was an eternal tease. Mortals might dream of its sweetness, poets might sing of its glow, yet it always remained just out of reach. Ambrosia wasn't simply food, it was a reminder of the cosmic divide. Immortality was served at a divine table, and mankind was never invited to dinner. Food 13. Idun's golden apples, Norse myth, c. 1200 CE. Far to the north, in the icy world of Viking legend, the gods of Asgard were not born immortal. They owed their youth and strength to a single source, the golden apples of the goddess Idun. Whenever age began to creep into their bones, the gods would gather and feast on her fruit, renewing themselves with each bite. But once the giant Thjazi kidnapped Idun and stole her apples away. Instantly the mighty gods began to wither, their skins sagging, their powers fading. Odin's wisdom dimmed, Thor's strength waned, and panic spread across Asgard. Only after a daring rescue did they recover Idun and her shining fruit, restoring their eternal youth. The lesson was chilling. Even gods depended on food to keep death at bay. Without their apples, they were just as fragile as mortals. Food 12. Soma and Amrita. India, Sia, 1500 BCE. In the sacred hymns of the Rig Veda, one drink was said to bridge the gap between man and God: Soma. Pressed from a mysterious, now lost plant, Soma was described as golden, intoxicating, and overflowing with divine power. To drink Soma was to touch the eternal. Priests sang its praises as the source of health, vision, and immortality itself. Later Hindu tradition transformed Soma into Amrita, literally the nectar of immortality. According to myth, gods and demons churned the cosmic ocean in a desperate contest, and from its foaming depths emerged a pot of amrita. Whoever drank it would live forever. Battles raged over this elixir, and only the gods triumphed, securing their eternal place in the cosmos. But here's the mystery. What was soma really? Some scholars say it was made from ephedra, others argue psychedelic mushrooms, still others propose milkweed or cannabis. The truth is lost to time. What remains is the idea that somewhere in nature, hidden in a plant, lay the secret drink of immortality. Food 11. The Peaches of Immortality. China circa 3rd century BCE. In Daoist mythology, eternal life grew in the orchards of Shiwangmu, the Queen Mother of the West. Her trees bore peaches of immortality, which ripened only once every 3,000 years. To taste just one was to gain everlasting life. These peaches were so powerful in Chinese imagination that they became symbols of birthdays, longevity, and the hope for unending vitality. Emperors dreamed of them, poets praised them, and even today, peach-shaped buns are served at banquets to wish long life. Yet for all their sweetness in myth, the peaches of immortality were never found in reality, leaving rulers desperate enough to turn to alchemy with often deadly results. Food 10. Daoist elixirs of immortality. China, 200 BCE, 900 CE. If peaches could not be plucked, perhaps immortality could be brewed. That was the thinking of Daoist alchemists, who promised emperors they could concoct liquid eternity. These so-called elixirs of life often contained strange ingredients: cinnabar, mercury, arsenic, even powdered jade and gold. Mixed into pills or potions, they were swallowed in the hope of living forever. But the results were catastrophic. The first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, consumed mercury pills seeking immortality, and likely hastened his own death. Centuries of rulers followed, swallowing poison disguised as medicine. Ironically, the quest for eternal life often killed its seekers far sooner than natural death would have. Still, the belief persisted. To the people, these elixirs were proof that death could be tricked, if only the right recipe could be found. In the grand halls of China's dynasties, immortality wasn't just a dream. It was served in a cup, bitter and deadly. Food 9. The Lingji mushroom. China circa 200 CE. In China's Han dynasty, whispers spread of a rare fungus that grew on sacred mountains and decaying logs, the Lingji mushroom, also called reishi. Unlike the dangerous mineral elixirs, Lingji was safe to consume, and Daoists hailed it as the true mushroom of immortality. It was said to glow with divine energy, restoring balance to the body and guarding against death itself. Over time, Lingji became more than medicine. It was an icon of longevity. Artists painted it into scrolls, emperors sought it in their gardens, and even today, it appears in teas, capsules, and health shops worldwide. Though science shows no proof of eternal life, the mushroom's legend lives on, a symbol of the ancient belief that immortality might just be growing in the forest. Food 8. Ginseng root. East Asia circa 1st century CE onward. Deep in the mountains of Korea and China, hunters dug for roots shaped uncannily like tiny human bodies. Ginseng. To the ancients, this resemblance was no coincidence. The root was thought to contain the very essence of human vitality. It was called the divine root, a cure-all that could restore strength, heal sickness, and even extend life itself. So prized was ginseng that wars were fought over its harvesting grounds. Emperors sent expeditions to secure it, merchants smuggled it across borders, and commoners risked their lives in dangerous forests to find it. Even today, ginseng is sold worldwide as an energy booster and anti-aging tonic. The dream remains the same as it was 2,000 years ago, that within this strange little root lies the secret to staying forever young. Food 7. Pearl powder and precious gems. China, 500 CE onward. In the glittering courts of imperial China, immortality wasn't always sought in roots or fruits. Sometimes it was swallowed straight from the treasure box. Daoist alchemists ground pearls, jade, and even gold into fine powders, mixing them into tonics and elixirs. These glittering drinks were believed to purify the body, beautify the skin, and, most importantly, extend life beyond its natural span. But the reality was far less divine. While pearl powder is still used in Chinese medicine and cosmetics today, many gemstone-based concoctions carried toxic side effects. Still, for emperors desperate to cheat death, the shimmer of ground jewels in a cup felt like sipping eternity itself. Food 6. The elixir of life. European alchemy, 12th to 17th centuries. In medieval Europe, alchemists promised kings and nobles a potion that could cure all disease and grant eternal life, the elixir of life. Tied to the legendary philosopher's stone, this drink was said to transform not just metals into gold, but mortals into immortals. For centuries, scholars in smoky laboratories distilled herbs, alcohols, and sometimes drinkable gold, all in the pursuit of the one sip that would stop death. Rulers eagerly funded their work, hoping to outlast their rivals. Yet just like in China, many of these brews were toxic, gilded lies in a bottle. Still, the idea endured that somewhere, hidden in glass flasks and secret manuscripts, a recipe existed for eternal youth. The elixir of life wasn't just a potion, it was Europe's greatest obsession with cheating the grave. Food 5. The fountain of youth. Global myths 12th to 16th centuries. Across continents, legends spoke of waters that could wash death away. In Persian and Islamic tales, it was the Abi Hayat, the water of life, a spring hidden in the farthest corners of the earth. In medieval Europe, the legend evolved into the fountain of youth, a magical pool that restored old men to vigour and made the weak strong again. When Spanish explorers sailed to the New World, rumours spread that Juan Ponce de Leon sought this fountain in Florida's swamps. Though historians debate the truth of that story, the myth was powerful. Immortality wasn't in a fruit or a root this time, but in a shimmering spring. All you had to do was find it and drink deeply. Food 4. The bread and wine of eternal life. Christianity, 1st century CE. In the Christian tradition, immortality wasn't promised by exotic fruits or secret roots, but by something far more familiar: bread and wine. During the Last Supper, Jesus declared that the bread was his body and the wine his blood, given so that whoever eats this bread will live forever. This became the Eucharist, known as the bread of life. For believers, the act of consuming this sacred meal was more than ritual. It was a promise of eternal salvation. Unlike other cultures that sought physical immortality, Christianity reframed the quest. Death could not be avoided, but through the Eucharist, eternal life was granted in a spiritual, everlasting sense. Here, immortality wasn't found in orchards or alchemical labs, but at the altar. Food 3. The water of life. Persian and Islamic traditions circa 600 CE onward. In Persian epics and Islamic lore, there are countless tales of a hidden spring known as the water of life, a liquid that granted immortality to whoever drank it. The legendary Alexander the Great, known in these traditions as Iskandar, is said to have searched for it endlessly. Yet in many stories, it was not Alexander who found the spring, but a humble servant or wanderer, suggesting that eternal life could not be won by conquest, but by fate. This living water was often placed in unreachable lands, deep deserts, dark caves, or the ends of the earth. Symbolic as much as literal, it reminded listeners that while kings and conquerors craved eternity, immortality might be granted to the unexpected, or denied to all. A single sip promised to turn death into everlasting life. Food 2. The Philosopher's Stone. Elixirs Europe, 13th to 17th centuries. In the imagination of Europe's alchemists, no object was more coveted than the Philosopher's Stone. Beyond turning base metals into gold, it was said to create the ultimate drink, an elixir that could cure any disease, reverse aging, and make its drinker immortal. For centuries, scholars hunched over furnaces, distilling strange brews in secret chambers, believing they were on the brink of conquering death. Kings and nobles eagerly supported them, hoping to sip eternity from a goblet. Though the stone was never found, its legend shaped the very idea of science and magic in the West, and kept the dream of edible immortality alive, glittering just out of reach. Food 1. The modern superfood craze. Today. The dream of eating our way out of death never died, it just put on a new label. Today, immortality foods appear on store shelves as superfoods and supplements. From ginseng tonics and reishi mushroom teas to pearl powders, kale smoothies, and antioxidant capsules, each promises vitality, longevity, and sometimes even anti-aging effects. In Silicon Valley, billionaires chase eternal youth with experimental diets, fasting regimens, and even blood transfusions. While none of these truly defeat death, the belief is the same as it was in Mesopotamia or China. Somewhere hidden in what we consume lies the secret to outsmarting time. The foods may have changed, but the hunger for immortality has not. For thousands of years, people searched for fruits, roots, and elixirs to cheat death. None of them worked, but the stories lived on. Maybe immortality isn't in what we eat, but in the legends we leave behind.